Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and New York Congressman Peter King are speaking outside of a Walmart in New York to push Senator Mitch McConnell to address a House bill on gun reform. Reminder, Congressman King is a Republican.
And so we are here today. Well, let me just say one more thing. You never really heal, and Americans more than ever are looking behind their shoulder to see if someone with a gun potentially engaging in a mass shooting is near them. So there's pain and there's fear. And today, Peter King, a Republican, myself, a Democrat, are here to say enough is enough. We are calling on Leader McConnell to bring the bill that passed the House, that Peter King bravely sponsored, to the floor of the Senate ASAP. If that bill comes to the floor of the Senate, I believe it will pass. I believe it will pass. And, oh, okay, Garrett. You okay, Mr. Telemundo? This is the bill. It's H.R. 8. It's a piece of paper, but it's a piece of paper that could save lives. This piece of paper represents more than just about anything else that could be done to stop the violence, such as occurred in Dayton and El Paso. It had bipartisan support in the House, and if Leader McConnell would simply bring this bill to the floor of the Senate now, I believe it would pass. We're saying to Leader McConnell, do the right thing. Gavel the Senate into an emergency session so we can take immediate action on the bipartisan, already passed gun legislation that Peter and others successfully shepherded through the House of Representatives. 150 days have slipped by since the House passed the bill. And all we've heard, unfortunately, from Leader McConnell is silence. We can get this done. I'm the author of the Brady Law back in 1993. But there are loopholes. People have gotten around the idea that there should be background checks. I don't think almost no American believes felons should get guns. Almost no Americans believe those adjudicated mentally ill should get guns. Almost no Americans believe that spousal abusers should get guns. That's all this bill does. That's all it does. But it would save a whole lot of lives, a whole lot of lives. No more online purchase loophole. No more gun show loophole. If you want to buy a gun, you have to get a background check. That's what this law would do. When we wrote the law back in 1994, there was no online, so there was no loophole to close. Gun shows were just something where people exhibited old-fashioned guns. They've now become a place where criminals and others can buy guns. And so we have to update the law and make America safer. 90% of Americans support this law. 80% of gun owners support this law. It's a very powerful lobby that fights against it, but their day has come. Their day is over. We can get this done. And now let me call on someone who's shown great courage in pushing this legislation through the House and is a colleague in asking me to join, is a colleague in joining me in asking Leader McConnell to bring it to the floor of the Senate. Peter.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here today with Senator Schumer. Any number of bipartisan issues we agree on and work together for New York and Long Island. And this is really working together for the country. And this should not be in any way a partisan issue, even though too often it becomes that. The fact is that, as Chuck said, all this legislation does is basically saying that people who are criminals and people who have been judged mental patients, have mental issues, and people who are spousal abusers or guilty of domestic violence will not be able to purchase a gun. And what bothers me so much is when, like for instance, this bill was in the House for a number of years before it finally got through, and the arguments you hear about it have really nothing to do with the bill. It's talking about people coming to your house and taking away your guns, not allowing people to buy guns. The only people who are affected at all are people who have a criminal record or have been adjudicated as mental patients. That's what we're talking about, mentally ill. So this is something, there's any number of things we can discuss about how we can stop gun violence, how we can stop these massacres that we saw, or at least cut into them. But the fact is, one thing we know we can do, and can do quickly, is to pass this legislation. It's not going to answer all of it. It may only answer a small part of it we don't know. But we do know it will save lives. And it will start to make it harder and harder for people who are the most dangerous to obtain weapons. So we can debate a lot of things on side issues as what can be done, and all that should be debated. But let's get one thing done right now. So that's why I believe it's essential that Senator McConnell allow this to come to a vote. He doesn't have to support it. He doesn't have to get behind it. Just let it come to a vote. And I think that if anything good can come from the horrible tragedies of this weekend, is that we can get this legislation passed. And my belief is that after it is passed, or if it's passed, people will say, what was the debate all about? This is just common sense. And that's what it is. It's common sense legislation. So I really appreciate Chuck asking me to be part of this news conference today to show that, again, common sense people working together can get this done. And again, I call on Senator McConnell to just let it come to a vote. That's all. I understand why calendars have to be controlled in both houses. I understand all that. But when you have an issue where 90% of the American people want it done, and the American people are literally crying because of what they saw this weekend, to me, just do the right thing, let it come to a vote on the Senate floor, and let the chips fall where they may. I'm confident that good will prevail, and this legislation will pass.
We'll take questions.
Just talk about, Senator, that the president may support some sort of gun legislation if it's attached to immigration.
Look, the first job is to pass this bill on the floor of the Senate. It passed the House. Just talking about closing the gun show loopholes without any others. You add extraneous amendments, it bogs it down. You want to get something done, pass this bill on the floor of the Senate now.
Representative King, you mentioned that the NRA had been weakened at this point. Considering that, what actions can be taken now to take advantage of that?
Yeah, I was asked the question. The NRA is not as powerful as it was, but I don't want to, diminish the importance they have. I think it's important to go over the heads of special interests right now and just appeal to the American people, have the American people appeal to their senators to get this done without worrying about the lobbyists that are out there. There's always going to be people against it, and they may be weaker this week. They could be stronger next week. I don't know. I just say leave all that aside and just go on the merits. We saw two horrible, horrible tragedies, just the latest of many, the latest two of many this year, and let it come to a vote. That's all we're asking for.
Yes.
First, have you spoken to Leader McConnell about this? And secondly, what indication do you have, if any, that other Republicans in the Senate might be supportive?
Well, there have been some Republicans in the Senate in the past supportive of this. I think the number will grow given what's happened in America over the last 6 to 8 months in terms of the number of tragedies that have occurred. Leader McConnell knows very well my views.
McConnell issued a statement last night saying that, he asked the top committee chairman to engage in bipartisan discussions.
We've discussed this long enough. This bill has bipartisan consensus. The experts, the groups, everyone all believes it's the right thing to do. Discussions are fine, but let's pass this bill now. We've discussed this for years and not gotten anything done.
And the red flag law that the Ohio...
Well, again, there are lots of other things that could be done. This is number one to Peter, to me, and to America. Let's get this done.
But do you have any comment on that specific?
Well, look, you'd have to, the idea of a red flag law is okay, but it doesn't substitute for doing this. It's not enough.
Senator McConnell had some health issues. I guess he fell, broke his shoulder. Some of his people are saying he's not in a position to act on this now.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
And the president said yesterday he wanted, Washington to come together on legislation.
We're coming together right now. And I think Peter would not disagree with me on this. It would be great if President Trump would tell Leader McConnell to put it on the floor.
Yeah, I would say it's like Nixon going to China. If President Trump would just come out and say that he believes a background check should be held, bring this to a vote on the Senate floor, and if there's any specific objections people have to certain parts of it, get it out. But let's get this done, not just, as Chuck said, it's been discussed and discussed and discussed, And if there's anything in particular people have an issue with, let it be done. Get it out there, get it on the floor. And I think if the president would just say, we need background checks, and let it go in the Senate.
What do you think's holding it back?
What's that?
Leader McConnell is not putting it on the floor.
Yeah.
That's what's holding it back. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.